Hello, I'm Dr. Jen Baxter and I'm Chief Engineer at the Institution of Mechanical Engineers. And I'm here today with our new President, Terry Spall, to find out a little bit about Terry and what his plans are for the institution. So thank you, Terry, for joining me today. And I'd just like to say congratulations on your new position. So we've known for a little while that you would become president after the elections this year. But could you perhaps tell our members a little bit about why you decided to put yourself forward for this role?
Of course, Jen, yes. I mean, like many members, I've been involved with the institution right throughout my career from graduation. So for me, that's kind of 40 years, just over 40 years. And I've always been very proud and passionate about the fact that I've been involved with the institution. And to be honest, as I've got more involved, then the sort of escalation to presidency has been one of the things that I've always aspired to. So I always had my eye on the role, and it's great to finally be here. But I think coming in at this particular time, it's a very interesting time for the institutions, a lot of change happening. And I think that my sort of personal characteristics play well to that, to get us through a period of change. I think I'm very focused on achieving goals and getting tasks completed. So I'm a very driven individual, but that's balanced by the ability to compromise and to reach a consensus. So I think as we've been going through a transition with the institution, I've been involved for the last year. I think I've been, it plays well to my strengths, and I think that's one of the things that's really attracted me into this role, really.
Thanks, Terry. So some of our members will know you really well and others may not know you so well. Would you be able to give us a brief outline of your career as an engineer and how you finally ended up in your current position?
I certainly can. I mean, I graduated in 1985, obviously in mechanical engineering, and I've spent my whole career in the automotive industry, working for a variety of companies. So first off, working for vehicle manufacturers up in the northwest with Leyland, down with Nissan at Cranfield, with Leyland Vans in Birmingham, and then I moved to Myra, and I spent a good deal of my career working for Myra. So many people will know it previously as the Motor Industry Research Association, but its correct name today is actually Hariba Myra. So we're part of the Hariba group based in Japan. And it's been a fascinating company to work for. I am a development engineer by background, so I help to develop cars. And with my time at Myra, it's allowed me to sort of to broaden my role into a much more commercial role. Running international operations, in fact, setting up international operations for Myra in many countries, including China, Korea, India, and places like Japan as well. But also then broadening out into commercial activities such as selling. And then over the last 10 years, I've been working on their technology part development, which again has taken me into a completely different arena altogether. So many different roles. I think many people in the automotive industry will know me. Outside that industry, probably not, but hopefully as my time as president, I'll get to know many more of our members across not just the UK, but across the world.
Sounds like an interesting back catalogue of activities. So a lot of our members will know that each of our presidents comes into their position with an idea for the theme for their year. Can you tell us about what theme you've chosen and why you've chosen it?
I think that the choice will probably be obvious when I tell you, but I'm going to focus on future mobility. So the automotive industry over the last 10 years has been going through quite a metamorphosis as we've been decarbonising personal transport in a fairly significant way. And not just decarbonising, but there's many sort of let's call them global megatrends that have been occurring that have had quite a profound effect on the automobile industry. So the fact that more people now live in cities, the fact that we're now digitally connected, the fact that we have to decarbonise. So lots of things have forced the industry to change, and I think over the next 10 years we're going to see even more change. Even considering the fact we've now got to deal with the COVID situation, how that plays out and the impacts that will have, and it will have impacts. We are going through an unprecedented change. So I thought it'd be quite interesting, really, to focus on the future of mobility. My presidential address will look at how that's going to play out. So what is going to happen over the next 10 to 20 years, and what can we expect by when? I think it's quite an exciting time. It'll be quite an interesting story to tell. And I've been to many presentations where people talk on this subject, and it is, if you're an automobile engineer, or even if you're not, it is an interesting subject because we all drive cars. We all use them to get around. So how it's going to change over the years now is going to be really interesting. I think if we can bring that down to the realist possible image we can of what's going to happen and when it's going to happen and what it's going to look like, then I think that'd be quite an interesting story to tell. So that's going to be the theme of my address, and certainly be one of the key themes I'll have through my year as president.
So that's a really big and challenging subject. And you did mention there both climate change and COVID-19. And there are the possibilities that we might experience some conflicts between those two particular issues. One being that perhaps fewer people may want to use public transport because of COVID-19, and we might see an increase perhaps in the use of private cars, which is something that's maybe a little bit undesirable. Do you think that that will actually be a challenge for the future of mobility, or will it begin to resolve as we understand more about coronavirus?
I'd like to think it would resolve. I mean, the obvious answer is that there's a lot of unknowns around at the moment, and I think people, it's easy to overreact to the situation and then start thinking about extremes. I think we have to allow this situation to play out. I mean, it is absolutely unprecedented, as we know. It's had a profound effect on everybody, really, not just in the UK, but across the world. And certainly, my car's been parked in the garage for quite a few weeks now, and it will be coming out soon, I hope. But, as we come out of COVID, then I think the way people will go through their daily lives will change as a consequence. I think we've all realised now that, we can work virtually quite effectively, and in some cases you can get more done by sitting at home with your computer than you can by running around between different places. So the need to travel around might change as well. So there are lots of things that are going to play out, but I would like to see us sort of emerge out through this before we see sort of big decisions taken, because it would be pure speculation, I think, to go too far at this stage on what the actual outcome is going to be and its actual impact on the industry.
Thanks, Terry. So you get to have 1 year as the president of the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, and 1 year is not a very long time. And we know that following on from the reviews that we had in 2018 and 19 around governance and finance, that there is the possibility that more members are going to want to become involved with IMechE's activities. What do you hope to achieve in your 1 year with our membership and the changes within the institution?
Okay, so you are correct. I mean, one year isn't a very long time. You get 1 year to build up for this. One of the changes that we're making is that period of build-up will actually go to 2 years. So we'll end up with 2 deputy presidents. So lots of changes are being built in to make people more effective when they do get into these roles, to give you a better chance. But I spent the whole year working on the reviews and implementing the recommendations that have come out of those reviews, working with a really great team of people who have gone to great lengths to really make sure that we understand the changes that need to be made, that we consult far and wide inside the institution and also outside the institution to make sure that we've got it right, and then to start to roll out those solutions. It's been a massive task, and a lot of the membership probably haven't seen, maybe not even heard of it, but trust me, a huge amount of work's been going on behind the scenes, and they will start to hear an awful lot more about it over the next few months as we start to go more public with the actual transition that we're making. And it's fair to say that the process has been very consultative. So certainly within all the active parts of the membership, we've seen a lot of interaction, a lot of consultation, a lot of adaptation to change the solutions to things that are more acceptable to people. So a lot of that work's been done, and I hope as well as we go forward that will extend to the wider membership. So there are certain questions that we have that we'd like broad member input on as to how they'd like to see their institution change in the future. So we will be consulting with wider membership, as indeed we did at the start of the recommendations. So lots of things are going to change. It's going to be certainly a busy year, an unusual year, I guess, really, because it's not, the last time this was done was 20 years ago. And the changes that were made then have held up well for those 20 years. But it is time for change, very clearly. And I'm looking forward to playing a very active role in trying to make that happen.
That's great, thank you. And we mentioned a little bit before that we are living through some really quite unusual times. And for you, coming in as president of the institution during a time when One Birdcage Walk itself is actually closed, must be quite challenging for you. So do you have a message that you would like to share with our members?
Yes, I think we're all we're all sort of wondering how this is all going to play out, really. You know, it's very unusual to be kind of locked out of the one-page coach walk for so long, but that's the reality. That's what we're faced with. So I'd say to our members, you know, just because the HQ is kind of shut down, it doesn't mean to say it's not operating. It is. The teams are very busy. A significant number of people now working from home. So many of the services that we offer, it's still business as usual, and the IMechE is operating. So do continue to engage. You know, I think some people are probably worried about their jobs because they've been furloughed or even made redundant. But, you know, even in that sort of extreme situation, you know, I think the institution has a role to play. So your membership of the institution is something that is probably even more important at times like that than at any other time, as you want to then present yourselves to potentially new employers. So, you know, don't give up on your membership. You know, do engage with the institution. And I'd also say, you know, with more people working at home, perhaps it's also a chance to engage more with your local IMechE teams. And we're doing quite a lot of work, which you'll see the benefit of soon, as to how we can make it easier for people to engage locally with areas of technical focus that they're interested in, or if it's just more of a social thing where they want to meet other like-minded engineers. So there are lots of things happening. So my message is, you know, engage as much as you can with what's going on.
Thank you, Terry. This has been a really interesting conversation, and I'm pretty excited about some of the plans for the institution, and you have a fantastic theme which will keep us all interested throughout the year. So it's my privilege to wish you all the best in your premiership, and to say thank you to everyone who has been listening and watching today, and I hope that they will all join us again soon for another episode of IMechE TV. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.